Okay, welcome council, staff, and to those who may be tuned in online with YouTube on our YouTube channel. This is our regular council meeting for Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. The time is 1 o'clock, so I'll call this meeting to order then. And I'd also ask council at this time that we have a moment of silent reflection so that we may reflect upon the principles of our duties of today as Council of Asphodel-Norwood. Thank you. I'll ask council at this time if there's any declaration of pecuniary interest at this time or at time of subject. Let us know, please. Seeing no hands, thank you. I'm looking then for an emotion for the approval of the agenda for today's meeting, which is September 14th, 2021. Be approved as circulated, please. Motion by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Archer. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I'm also looking for a motion for the approval of the minutes. These minutes are the council meeting of August 24th, the public meeting minutes of August 24th, and our emergency council meeting minutes of September the 10th. The recommendation to be adopted as presented. Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Is there any business arising from those minutes? All right, seeing no hands then, thank you. On to the consent agenda then. We have C1 through C5 in the consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion then to approve the consent agenda as circulated for information then, please. Councillor Archer, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? That's carried. Is there anyone would like to talk about through C1 through C5? Okay, seeing no hands then. There's no delegations or presentations. So this meeting is going very quickly, Council. Thank you. Staff and committee reports. R1 then. Is Candace, are you doing this today or are we? Okay, so Candace White, our CAO clerk treasurer. R1 is the consent, which would be 71-21/Carter. Candace, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be presenting this report on behalf of Mr. Whitmore, who is on vacation this week. Before council, you see consent B-71-21, which has been submitted by Mr. Stephen Carter. The purpose of the application is to allow the severance of a parcel of land having a frontage of approximately 250 meters, which correlates to about 820 feet, an approximate area of 10.5 acres. The effect of the application is to create a new agricultural lot as the existing residence is surplus to farming operations. The consent application is applicable to the lands known as 1943 Asphodel 11th line. The retained portion of the lands will be a lot area of approximately 35.7 hectares, which is about 88 acres. Both parcels of land, the parcel that is being retained will be prohibited to have any sort of residential type use moving forward, which is typical. Council has seen this at this point many times in the last few years. What is slightly different is the severed portion, that the 10 acres will be rezoned. Instead of traditionally we see that being rezoned as residential, it will be the applicant will propose to rezone it as a hobby farm. The retained portion, I believe, is also going to have to be rezoned to recognize that it is now slightly undersized at 88 acres against our zoning bylaw. I will leave it with council with any questions.
Council, any questions, or were some given in advance? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Yeah, so with the retained portion being under the 80 or under the 100 acres or at 88 acres, Candace. So it stated in the report about merging with his current property on the 10th line. And even though it's not stated in that application, that will be the case moving forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, so what typically the flow of information would be, the land today, it'll be decided whether council supports a land appraisal form. The land appraisal form from the municipality with our stipulations gets sent on to county for the land division to make a decision, because this is under the authority of Peterborough County. One of the conditions of consent would be zoning bylaw amendments that apply to one or both of the lands. Traditionally, we just see it in one. In this case, I believe we're going to see it on both parcels. And then and subsequent to that would be the merger agreement. And then the merger agreement would merge it to existing agricultural lands, which I believe they have stated that they would wish to merge them to the property on the 10th line. Again, we'll know for sure when we see the merger agreement.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions of council? Okay, seeing no hands, then I'd be looking for a motion then that we accept this report, B71-21 Carter, for information, and then that we ask staff to provide the municipal appraisal form to the County of Peterborough Land Division. Motion by Councillor War, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So R2 then, it would be Candace White again, and this report is regarding our 2022 operating and capital budget schedule.
Thank you, Mayor. So yes, it is that time of year. We are looking at the 2022 municipal operating and capital budgets, as well as the Village of Norwood's water, wastewater, and Trentview Estates water system rate budgets. We're looking, as you can see in the staff report, we would like to bump it up to have the budget adopted in December. A couple of reasons for that. We have been slowly working towards backing it up as much as possible. When I started with the township, they were adopting budgets in April, May. So we've been backing it up. And now we're to a point where it would be nice to not have it looming over Christmas and the new year. And then we kind of just start the new year. We have the budget and away we go. Gives us another probably month, because we adopt mid-December and traditionally we wouldn't adopt till mid-January. So even though it's just one more meeting, we actually do gain a month of more so for procurement purposes. So what staff has proposed is the department budgets and which meeting you're going to see them at over the course, and you'll see the full draft on November 23rd. So we're going to see full drafts over the course of 3 meetings. Then you'll see the full draft on the 23rd with the public meeting with adoption set for the 14th of December. The budget survey is slated to close on September 30th. We'll be taking that information and migrating it into any applicable staff reports coming forward to advise council of the results of that survey. The majority of the questions on the survey are capital driven, and that is why you'll see September 28th, the departments that are coming forward don't have capital. They're all operations, so won't be impacted by any information received in the budget survey. I suspect the majority will be seen on October 26th and November 9th. And I'll leave it with council for any questions.
Council, Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Yeah, I think the schedule looks good. Staff has a busy few months ahead of them as usual, but I guess just a quick question on the survey. Are they coming in on a regular basis? I just wondered, I know we're only halfway there, but just wondered how the surveys were coming in, if there was much interest from the public, because this is a first. It's good to see it out there.
I believe on the budget survey, we're sitting right around the 50 responses received to date. There'll be another push of it going out. The all wheels survey that for the skateboard park expansion is going out to the schools. We have included the budget and strategic plan survey on that little announcement that will go out to all of the parents. So maybe we'll see another influx there. We're hoping in the next couple of weeks, we see a little bit more uptake, but all in all, hearing from 50 residents in regards to budget is probably more than we've ever heard of before. So, we'll take it and see what kind of feedback. I haven't read any of the comments or looked at any of the feedback to date. So I can't even give you kind of a hint as to where we're headed, because I do not know. But I know we're sitting around 50.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor War, I seen your hand.
I actually, Deputy Mayor Burt did ask one of my questions. I really do like the outline of this. And do you feel that the survey, now that it's fall, maybe we'll get some more participants responding to that survey? Now that kids are back in school and holidays are past, perhaps we'll get more people participating in that.
That is the hope, and that is why it's open until the 30th of September, so we can catch that first month of school when people are kind of back into the swing of routine, to ensure that everyone's back off of summer vacation. As soon as it goes out to the schools, I suspect over the course of the next week, we'll see another influx. We'll push it out on social media again, and then kind of wrap it up on the 30th and kind of see where we land from there. The timing kind of is what it is. I mean, we pushed into September. We can't really push it any further, but we're not really talking about budget in March to get it out in the spring either. It's just kind of, you hit that summer, early fall for budget talks every year. So I think as long as we keep it open for the month of September, we're at least giving everyone equal opportunity to respond if they so wish.
True enough. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else at this time? Councillor Walsh, and you're muted, sir.
Yeah, again, just follow up. Yeah, I like the timing of it. I also like the idea that the survey is open until September 30th, and the departments that we're going to hear prior to that, probably not a lot of input coming into those, but certainly I think we want to make it aware of the public that if there is something that comes out of that survey that's impacting budgets getting presented in September, it will obviously be well listened to. But no, I love the flow that we've got. We've got it spaced out well enough, and yeah, it is nice to have it done before the end of the year.
Okay, I have a question or a comment. I just wondered, I have so many acronyms in my head now, but the funding that we get from the government for being in a rural community so much, do they give us a heads up on that before our budget is finished, or do they give it to us a year in advance somehow for acknowledgement as to how much money we're going to get?
You're talking about the OMPF, which is the
Yeah.
Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund.
Thanks.
And yes, I do believe we have received our 2022 allocation amounts for budget. We will have that amount before we head into budget. At least if I don't have it currently in my inbox, and the provincial government has promised that we will have it. So
Okay.
I don't have the number off the top of my head, Mayor, but
No.
we should have it by December.
No, I'm fine with the no number, because they could change their mind at the drop of a hat. It's just the promise of it. And having it, of course, in the account is the best thing too. But no, I just wondered, because the one year we were really delayed on our taxes because of the budget, because of the way that the government was thinking about opting out of it, I guess, at that time, if I'm correct in my thoughts here. So. Okay, so R2 then, which we've just discussed, is that we're going to accept this report, and that we approve that the 2022 operating capital budget schedule as presented for the timeline. Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor Archer. All in favor? And then that's carried. Thank you. Okay, Candace, again, please. This report is regarding our ICIP Green Stream Intake #2 application, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is advising council that the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, the ICIP, which you'll all be getting well used to that acronym, that program opened up another stream. Actually, it's intake #2 under green infrastructure. You'll see all of the 5 streams that this ICIP program encompasses, and I've put beside each one what project we have been successful for underneath each stream. Obviously, we have not and will not be submitting under a public transit stream, as we do not have an existing public transit system. The green stream includes up to $7.12 billion in combined federal, provincial, and other funding partners over 10 years. And this intake provides $240 million in combined federal and provincial funding. The focus of this funding is on the priority of drinking water projects that addresses critical health and safety issues. That being said, obviously, water and water only, wastewater is not applicable for this funding stream. Green Stream Intake 1 wastewater and water assets were applicable. They have eliminated wastewater assets from this funding stream for this round anyway. It may come back if they do release a green 3, which I do suspect they will based on the funding envelope. We're not using up the complete 7.12. So in light of the eligible criteria, it was a tight scope that you could apply for. And obviously to get the biggest bang for our buck, we did staff submitted an application to the funding for the anticipated replacement of the Norwood treated water standpipe, also known as the water tower. The application closed last Thursday, September 9th at 4:59 p.m. The application that was submitted had the following project timelines: a project start date of July 4th, 2022, which would mean the beginning of the design and procurement process, like all of the behind the scenes type. The EA should be done this fall. We are going to see that probably in November. So the EA at least is going to be done, but then we got to go into full design. We would ideally have the aquifer capacity study completed before the design of the water tower. The project end date is November 30th, 2023. Anticipated construction would take place in 2023. The project cost, this is obviously approximate, because if we are successful in the funding stream and council approves us to go out for tender for this project, the tendering process obviously dictates the cost. We're pretty confident with this number, but again, 2023, we did include some contingency in the price we were given, because obviously with inflation, that's 2 more years away from now. So you're looking at approximately 2.8 million, with the township contribution being about 769,000. At the time of contribution agreement, we would take a look at how the township would be, or I shouldn't say the township, how the village of Norwood users would be funding the water tower at that point in time. The application and all of the supporting documents has been forwarded on to MPP Puccini, asking for him to support our application and to advocate on our behalf. I also have a meeting tomorrow morning with the Minister of Infrastructure to advocate for this application. And I will take any questions.
Just a comment before council. When you were talking at the beginning, you mentioned it was a replacement. I think that's what I'd heard you said, but it's not actual replacement. It would be an extra tower that we would need, an extra water tower.
Yeah, so the existing water tower, it'll come out in the EA process. I suspect it'll be decommissioned.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
And potentially sold as surplus, and we'd be able to get money back for that tower.
Oh.
That's kind of where the EA has been going since we've been working at it. It's almost come to a conclusion. We'll be ready to go to a virtual PIC on that project. Hopefully, it looks like the beginning of October. And that'll be kind of give a bit more detail in regards to where we're landing, but how it sits right now, it would be likely decommissioned and sold.
Okay, thanks. I just want a clarification on that.
You're welcome.
Councillor War, I seen your hand, please.
Yes, through you, Mayor. I just wanted to, is there a timeline for the response expected back from the government? Because this is a tight timeline once, if you're thinking of July of next year. I was just curious when you're expecting an answer if we are successful.
Yes, so they did give us the timelines. We should hear whether the province is nominating the project up to the federal government by the end of the year. And then they're saying winter of 2022 to hear from the federal government. They dictated our start time. They wanted all projects to start between June and September of 2022. So when they're putting, now we did have till 2026 to complete the projects, but they gave that timeline for projects that had to commence, which again, if you hadn't started your EA, you wouldn't be able to meet it. So it's reducing those projects that are able to be up for consideration, because you have to be ready to go in July. And if we hadn't kickstarted the EA, we wouldn't be able to meet the June to September of next year project start date that they dictated in the application process.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Yes, through you, Mayor. Yeah, you'd mentioned about the EA study and then the aquifer capacity study. At what point do you think that would be done, and what's the length of completion and kind of scope of work for that to be done before the project would be started?
The aquifer capacity study will take 4 to 6 weeks to complete.
Okay.
Approximately. There is a few hiccups in regards to starting that project, and we're still working through those.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else at this time? Councillor Walsh, please.
Yeah, more just a comment through you, Mayor. And again, I know sometimes people, think we're crazy doing all these studies, but I think it goes to show that when we done the Engage study back a while ago with the engineering firm, got a complete review and assessment of our water and wastewater. It just goes to show you when these funding streams come along with very tight timelines that we were ready to go. If we had not had that Engage study completed, we probably would have had to pass on this, correct?
Yeah, if we didn't have the Engage study completed, and if we didn't kickstart JL Richards last fall to complete the EA, the environmental assessment, so those two were critical pieces. No, we wouldn't have been able to, or at least not,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to apply for infrastructure that is that
Correct.
significant of a dollar value. We would have had to go for something much, much smaller that we would likely be able to take on ourselves without the funding. So it's
Okay.
definitely
Yeah, I think it just-
that forward thinking is coming.
Yeah, I just think it does. I just kind of want to reinforce that I think some people do think that we're crazy spending money on studies, but it is forward thinking, and in the long run, it means we're shelf ready when these funding streams come along, and we can jump on it and meet a very tight timeline and have it submitted last week. So that's great.
Exactly.
Yeah, well done. Any other questions? All right, seeing no questions, then this one basically would be just a motion for this report, ICIP Greenstream, for information only at this time. Motioned by Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next then would be our four, Candace again, list of approved engineering firms is this report. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So traditionally, I would say a couple of decades at least, the township has utilized AECOM's Whitby office in order to conduct its regular engineering requirements. Most often, they are peer reviews of and submissions for developments that are submitted by the developers, engineers, and the township needs to do a peer review on that. As we do not have an engineer on staff, we contract that out to an engineering firm. It has traditionally been AECOM and Whitby. What is happening as the township is exponentially growing, the workload and the caseload for that Whitby office has become a concern. Response times have become a concern. The quality of the work and the engineering advice we receive, no issues with at all. It's just becoming a bit of a battle in order to get them to respond in a timely fashion. So just with the shared number of files, it's time to start spreading that out a little bit so all of our eggs aren't in one basket and we're not stuck constantly chasing and emailing and phone calling and people calling us trying to get answers from us. I don't like the ball to be in our court for very long. I like to get the answers and get the ball flung back in their court, so to speak. So that being said, I did reach out to the township solicitor, as we do have some interesting files, as council is aware of, on our plates. So his recommendation is that under the Municipal Act, we do not need to appoint a specific engineer of record. We do have to appoint, say, auditors of record or a legal firm of record. Those are listed under the Municipal Act. Engineer of record is not. His recommendation is to appoint a list of engineers that are recommended that the township can pull from to utilize for these types of circumstances. So for instance, peer review is funded by the applicant. So as you've seen many times before, the pre-development agreement comes forward, they post securities. Those securities then pay for all of the engineering for that specific job. There is random engineering advice sometimes township staff, whether we're reconstructing a road, whether something, a survey concern, something pops up. So we may have to pick up the phone and get a piece of engineering advice here or there. Tends to be quite nominal in nature. And it's also important to remember that this list doesn't procure these or prevent these firms from participating in the procurement process. So if we put out, say we wanted to reconstruct a street, we put out an RFP for construction, administration, contract, admin, inspection. We put out the RFP, these firms would still be able to submit an application and proposal to the RFP. They would be scored. Maybe they would get it, maybe they wouldn't. Depends on the project and whatever they put forward. So as of right now, we basically, unless it's project specific, we are using AECOM in Whitby, and township staff are recommending that we kind of just spread the workload out a little bit so we can start to see more timeliness on our responses. And the township isn't getting less busy from a development standpoint. That being said, there's a couple of files that will remain that are historic with AECOM. They will remain there and we continue to work through them. We're not going to all switch and go over here and then have to pay an engineer to get brought up to speed on the file when it's 7 or 8 years old and we're still working on it. No, we're going to continue with AECOM on files, but as new files come forward that are large in nature, we're not going to add them to AECOM's workload. They're just not able to take it on. They try, but it's just a bit difficult to get responses. So we're just going to give that scope of work to a different engineer to kind of keep, I don't want all of our eggs in one basket anymore. It's proving to be a bit of a challenge.
Makes sense. Questions from council? Pretty straightforward. All right, then looking for a motion then that we accept this report for information and that we approve the other engineers as listed under the direction of the township staff. Councillor Archer, seconded by Councillor Moore. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, R5, Candace again. This is regarding our management action list, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So you'll see the reports that are slated for today. We will be adding the draft department budgets now that council has approved that schedule. We'll be adding those dates in. You can see some things that are coming up. The new Westwood well is going to move to October, but we do have the dates that they're going to be hooking up that well, and it is I believe mid-October, 13th and 14th or something, they're slated to move in order to hook up that well. So that's good news. A couple of consents. There is going to be a public meeting. That zoning bylaw amendment is just a condition of a previously approved consent. We will have an update on the ATV and ORV bylaw based on the county's presentation at the last meeting, as well as any updates that I have from our stakeholders and presenting it to council, and council can then determine whether we're just going to leave the bylaw in draft form until county decides exactly what it is they're going to do. And if that's the case, that's fine. It's sitting there shelf ready and it can be easily amended, or we can adopt and tweak a bylaw. It takes 2 minutes to tweak it after the county adopts. So staff really has no preference. I'll leave the timing up to council and what they're most comfortable with. You can see as of right now, we only have one meeting in October. All of the third quarter reports are going to hit that meeting. It looks long, but as you know, they all hit the consent. Some other things that have been kind of getting pushed down the list because we're still waiting. You've seen them, they just keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And we're just sitting and waiting for either agreements from their end, from their lawyers, things like that. There is communication going back and forth, but there's just nothing to bring forward to council at this point in time. So I'll leave it with you with any questions.
Great. Thank you for your list. Council, any questions? All right, seeing no hands then, this would be a motion then to accept this report with the revisions that have been suggested. Motioned by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor Moore. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, correspondence for action then. One would be C6, Peterborough Child and Family Centers. This is regarding a donation request, relief of facility rental fees. What's council's wish or thoughts or concerns or questions? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mayor. So when I first saw that this group, the Peterborough Child and Family Centers, are an excellent organization and have been around our township and many communities for many, many years. However, I did look back, and our policy is to agree to a relief of $500 per organization per year. And we did that in order to make these decisions flow much easier. And that's why we made the policy. So, every group and every organization and every idea that comes looking for relief are always excellent, but that's the reason we made the policy. So I'm thinking we could certainly offer them that $500 relief. And if they can utilize that, then that's at least probably, half their costs. I don't know if they are charged anything at the high school. I'm not sure. Maybe the high school project will get done earlier so they can get in earlier. Perhaps they can look at other places to rent. There's the Westwood Library may be available, which might be a little bit cheaper. So that's just my thoughts, and I'll put it out to council to see if there's other ones out there.
Anyone else on council? Any questions or concerns, comments, questions? Okay, good. Councillor Walsh, please.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I'll kind of follow along with what Deputy Mayor Burt. I went in and reviewed our policy as well. Again, this is a great organization, do a lot of great things for parents and children in our community. But again, based on our current policy, it is $500 per year per organization. I think we looked up this request would be a little over $1,100 if we were to provide no charge the full amount. And I guess when we have a policy in place, I'm kind of like Deputy Mayor Burt, that I'm more in line that we'll have to follow our current donation policy, which is offering them $500 relief. Okay,
Councillor Ward, I seen your hand.
Just to echo what Deputy Mayor Burt and Walsh, the $500 donation. It's an excellent organization, and maybe they will apply in the new year as well.
All right, anyone else with comments? All right, so Deputy Mayor Burt, sounded like you were making a motion. You're muted, sorry.
Have to do that at least once a meeting, right? Through you, Mayor. Yeah, I will make the motion that the donation request application for Peterborough Child and Family Centers is offered the $500 donation, or $500, yeah, I guess it'd be a donation as per our current donation policy.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Archer. Any other comments to the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried then, thank you. Okay, C7, Municipality of Trent Lakes. This is regarding the OHIP eye care resolution R2021-593. Council, what's your thoughts on that? Councillor Ward, please.
My thoughts at the moment are to receive it for information only, as I believe that there's still discussion between the government and optometrists ongoing, and I think maybe that should be resolved before we make a decision on something like this.
Thank you. So is that a seconder then, Deputy Mayor Burt? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on that?
No.
All right, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Next is C8, Shane Hodge, regarding the library exterior and project consultations. Who wants to take the lead on this one? Councillor Ward, please, and you're muted there.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, through you. I'd like to thank Shane for reaching out. It is nice to see that residents engaged and with concerns, and rightly so, that he's written to us. That being said, I think that COVID has changed the way that information is gathered and dispersed, and rural communities, a lot of times they get it from their neighbors, communications. And I think that COVID has made that really difficult. And I think the staff has done an excellent job trying through digital platforms, through newspapers and everything to try to get that out. I just think that COVID has made it so difficult the last year and a half with all the projects happening in the township. So that's my thoughts to start off with.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments or questions, concerns? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Certainly, I agree with everything Councillor Ward just said. A lot of times, you get conversations going at events and within organizations. So perhaps some of the communication wasn't there as much as some residents had hoped. Certainly, he brings up a number of things in his letter. I don't think we have to go through each item. He's reached out to a number of us, perhaps all of us, but I think we've all had a conversation with him at this point. I guess I'll focus on the library because that's where his main focus was. Personally, I think it looks great. We certainly didn't destroy or remove anything other than the tree. Everyone hated to see that tree go, but the soffit and all of that was covered up. It wasn't removed, and part of the soffit that he was concerned about, it was not original. It was maybe about 30 years old. So that was interesting to find out. And for those who maybe haven't been by the library, I believe the furniture got installed yesterday. I've only seen photographs of it, but it looks good. And I think just one thing that I do want to touch on that he had mentioned about the historical registry. Certainly, I think when we look at our older buildings, we're maintaining them quite well considering their age, and we try to upkeep them as best we can. I think it's very difficult to get them back to original. I think it's very important that we balance the budget with balancing the upkeep of buildings, and the thought that perhaps we would put in a public registry and put out that we as council or as a township would have input to personal or private homes. I certainly wouldn't want to be part of a council that does that. I think government have their fingers in enough pot and in enough pots of the public, and I certainly wouldn't want to be involved in that. So that's just my comment, and certainly there are other concerns, and I'll let council speak on behalf of this letter as well.
Anyone else? Councillor War.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just to follow up on the heritage or the registry for heritage buildings, the Historical Society or the Cultural and Heritage Committee, there has been a list compiled of historical buildings, but in no way would I think it would be appropriate to put it onto heritage designation on property owners. It's just too costly for insurance and upkeep and what they can and can't do with their own property. To identify the properties and the historical importance of the buildings, sure enough, but I'm with Councillor or Deputy Mayor Burt on that the Heritage Registry would be very difficult.
Thank you for that. Councillor Walsh, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm just kind of reiterating and reinforcing what a lot of the rest of our council team is saying. I certainly, COVID has made communications challenging. I do feel we're doing our best. Our best may not be exactly what everybody feels is the best, but I think kind of side to that is there is also some onus on residents to try and stay informed as well. You know, we provide a lot of different venues and avenues for people that are on the internet, on their phone, in the grocery store, community boards. So we do make a big effort to keep people informed. I think there is a line as to how much we need to inform on every little thing and project that we do, right down to the, you know, what color the baseboard should be. I think there's, you know, I think they have to rely that we will make good decisions, but I think there certainly is some onus on residents as well to just, you know, be participatory and follow up and make sure you are informed. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I just kind of want to make that comment. No.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor, you have your hand up again?
Yeah, I was just going to make the comment that Barry ended with, actually, that, you know, if people have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to a council member or certainly staff. We're not hiding anything. We try to make things as transparent as possible, and don't be afraid to ask a question, whether it be, you know, by phone, by email, you know, knock on our door. Hopefully not late at night, but yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to add that what Councillor Walsh ended with. So thank you.
Yeah, I just a little further to that about the historical designation. To a certain extent, we have plaques that were installed on several buildings downtown with some back history on them, and those plaques are still on the building as of today on a lot of the buildings that are in the downtown core. With back history as who's owned them and what it might have been used for at that particular time. So that's part of the history that's there now that never got removed, or it's still there. So Candace, you had your hand up, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Based on some of the content of Mr. Hodge's letter, I did speak to Mr. Hodge for well over an hour and addressed some of his concerns. Some were alleviated and was able to create an opportunity for re-education, but some of it we agreed to disagree. I would like to put forward to council a couple of things. One, a lot of the consultation for this project was completed in 2019 and early 2020. I can state that the library board was made aware of the full scope of the project, as I am the one that presented that information. The very first rendering of this project included the replacement of the soffit and fascia. It has been on the original rendering. It has never changed. It has been there from the get-go. The CEO librarian of the day attended a meeting with me in Peterborough at Let Architects to discuss that rendering. It was discussed. Basterfields and Associates ultimately ended up designing the project. But the soffit and fascia, as far as completing that and any other upgrades to that building, seen very few changes throughout the 2-year process. The tree was well communicated for probably about 2 years. We actually delayed the removal of the tree. We did not receive one request from anyone local, municipal staff, council, library board, library staff, homeowners, business owners in regards to that tree. We received no such requests at all. The library rendering and project was presented to the EdBack committee the exact same night I presented it to the library board to provide just an opportunity, more of an update. I think there also has to be an understanding as to the scope and the mandate of committees and boards. And it doesn't always include providing advice or giving direction in regards to certain aspects of specific projects. That includes the town hall ramp, specific planters, streetlights, that sort of thing. Those are capital projects. They were identified over a budgetary process, which is all in the public forum. And again, it comes back to what Councillor Walsh said. You have to engage, you need to watch these meetings. You need to read the agenda, see what's coming up and see if there's anything on there that may interest you. So I guess I have to agree to disagree as far as the amount of consultation that was given to the committees and boards and who was aware and who wasn't aware. I also put forward the full scope of this project. I went back in my notes at least 3 times to this council in regards to what was going to be replaced and what wasn't on the exterior of that building. And soffit and fascia has been on the list from the get-go, from the very, very beginning. I think what it boils down to is there was larger, more significant elements to that project, such as the removal of the tree, the furniture, and what was going to replace that tree as a shade structure. And I think that took over people's focus and when they were listening to the scope of work for that project and didn't really necessarily hone in on soffit. I think they were more focused on other things on that project and maybe missed that aspect of it, because I know the message was delivered. That being said, the crown molding is still in place on that building. It is just behind a piece of bent aluminum. So it is there at any point in time. And moving forward, another council, another staffing complement wishes to retreat back to that look, remove the aluminum, and there it is. And you can restore it how you see fit. The last thing I would like to say is there is an opportunity when we look at the CIP program at the end of the year to add historical items. So if there's a downtown business that needs maybe some funds or access to funds in order to assist them in refurbishing a historical significant attribute of their building, then we could potentially, just putting it out for council for their thought, add that to our CIP program that they can apply and receive funds to restore that element of their building for historical significance. And as we know, that is an interest-free loan to be paid back over 5 years. We have lots of criteria on that list right now: accessibility, heating efficiencies. We're going to have to add pandemic-related expenses to that coming this fall. Hopefully we don't see one of those anytime soon, but you never know. So all of those types of things are on there. Facade, entrances, exits, those types of things. So it is a consideration that we could potentially give to meet somewhere in the middle where someone would like some assistance with preserving part of their facility, that they have that opportunity. And that's it, Mayor, for me.
Okay, thank you for that. And just as a note to council, I did a walkabout the library in Westwood today because I'm on that committee. But the Westwood Library was done exactly the same way years ago with soffit, fascia, eave trough, and the crown molding that was up there was covered with bent aluminum to follow the shape of the crown molding, just as it is in the Norwood Library. So, I mean, it's nothing new to our township that's been done before, but it definitely is a maintenance thing. And we do get better ventilation in the attic for sure by having vented soffit with some of that wood removed for obvious reasons, for better heating, ventilation, and with the ventilation in today's world for how it's working in schools and one thing after another, it's a well-known fact that we need that, and it's a must. So anyways, the good discussion. I guess for this C8 then, and I'm going to ask the clerk, we should basically send a letter possibly back to Mr. Hodge, thanking him for his letter and his concerns, and that there was a discussion on it as of today.
Yes, that could be a motion put forward by council. Traditionally, when a resident puts forward communication to council in writing, it is always prudent to respond to that resident in writing. In regards, staff can respond to the questions as best we can. If there's anything specific the council would like the letter to say, or the letter to contain, or any specific answers to the questions that Mr. Hodge put forward, if you could please let me know that.
I'm not sure.
Council knows what that letter is going to contain. That would be great.
Yeah, other than the fact that we just had the discussion today, and that basically between council and staff, I think we've answered most of the questions as far as has been concerned in that letter. And like you say, we agree to disagree to a certain extent on certain things too. So I don't know if we have to get into the downright dirtiness of replying back to everything when we had a wholesome discussion on the letter here. So, but Council, Deputy Mayor Burt, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think just acknowledging that we received his letter, and in light of the conversations he's had with a number of council members, as well as our CAO, clerk treasurer on the matter, I'm sure we've all, spoken at length with him. So I do believe he's received answers to his questions. Like you say, many he may not agree with, but I think just acknowledging that we've received his letter, that it was discussed at council, the previous discussions with council and staff, and that if he has any further concerns, to don't hesitate to reach out. I don't think we have to get into specifics within that letter.
Yeah. Thank you for your motion. And do I have a seconder on that?
Yep.
Councillor Walsh. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, councillor liaison reports. Does anyone have anything they want to bring forward at this time that wasn't sent in earlier? Okay, seeing no hands then, we're on to the CAO clerk treasurer's list then, please, Candace, once again.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to touch base. As our community program coordinator has put forward an idea to try to help boost the strategic planning survey, and was wondering if we had one or two members of council that may be willing to do a short video that we would script for you to explain the importance of what strategic planning is and what it does. When we've submitted when we did the draws for the shop local with the mayor and the deputy mayor, as well as the reel that Melanie created that kind of showed all of the shop local videos go, one of them seeing 2,800 views. It's just so much more than a simple word post. So throwing it out there, if there is a member or two of council that would be willing to have themselves videoed and put out on social media explaining strategic planning. Again, we wouldn't expect you to come up with the language or the verbiage for that, but lending your face and your voice would be ideal. Please don't all raise your hands at once. And other than that, Mayor, I don't have anything else to add. There'll be a full capital project update coming to council on the 28th of September. There hasn't been a whole lot new to report. You can see that's what's happening on the main street and what's going on. If you have any questions in regards to any project, please reach out and let me know. And a full update will come on the 28th.
Great, thank you. So since nobody threw their hands up or nobody really was starting to laugh too much, if nobody wants to do that, then why don't you just, let's try to nominate somebody then. There's a thought.
He's allowed to do that. I can't even shut him down. Sorry, guys.
Go ahead, any
Candace?
thoughts?
Through you, Mayor. Candace, short, like a short video, not a lot, just some key points to really parlay to the members of our community why it's important to take part.
Yeah, you're looking at about 15 seconds. 15-second video, 20-second video, just kind of like, as soon as they see a face and you're talking, like they stop and they like listen versus like, you know, the scroll and having to read all the words. We do find that they just provide a bit more impact. So we're just hoping in order to kind of push these surveys a little bit more, just maybe seeing a counselor's voice and to be able to do that. It is not mandatory. You do not have, if nobody wants to do it, it's perfectly fine. It's just, it's just an idea.
Deputy Mayor Burt.
I'm not putting my hand up. I'm just saying that Roger and I had our time last week, so it's nice to share with the council members. So I'll throw it out there to the 3 council members. It's nice to share.
I will volunteer. I think it's important. If it's a way to help get more people actively involved in the strategic plan survey, absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Councillor Ward.
And if you need a second person to do a second video at some point, I would be happy to do a 15-second video.
You're gonna hold me to that. I'll be like, how fast can you talk?
I'm gonna write that down. 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
I can be behind the camera and helping you smile a little bit, you know.
Yeah, hold the cue cards.
Yeah. Asphodel-Norwood, a growing success. We're going to bring jobs to town. Simple.
We
Good,
will,
thank
we will be in touch with you, Counselor Walsh, and we will get you your script and figure out how we're gonna get that, recorded. And then Counselor Ward, we'll put that video out, see where we land. And then, if we feel we need another push, either for the budget survey, or another one for the strat plan, we'll be in touch with another script for you. Thank you. Well done, Council, well done.
I think somebody nominated somebody, but I'm not sure. That's how that one worked. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Burt, for that suggestion for the other councillors. All right, nothing else in the treasurer's list, the CAO's list. General business now we're on to on the agenda. Anyone have anything under general business at this time? Okay, Councillor Walsh, please.
Just a quick question, Mayor, through you. I know on Friday we adopted our new safety plan for the arena. Just want to get a sense from Candace how that was received by the different organizations, and do we have a sense on when the implementation date will actually be for our new safety plan?
So it was sent out to the user, our main user, so Minor Sports as well as the skating club. No response received from either organization in regards to the draft safety plan. It was put out, obviously stating that please don't come to the arena tomorrow, assuming that this is in place. Like, it was put out that the implementation date would be put forward to you as soon as it's available. I know the signage was looked at yesterday in hopes that it would be prepared and installed today. The electrician was in and looked at the lighting on the exterior of the building. We are able to isolate the baseball lights. So the baseball lights and the lights on that side of the building are on the same switch, and we didn't want to turn on the baseball field lights, but we have figured out that there is a breaker in the music room that shuts those off. So we just have to remember on the nights of ball to turn that breaker back on so those lights will work. So they were coming to see if the lights were strong enough. If they weren't strong enough, whether we could put stronger bulbs in. So long about answer to your question is no feedback from the user groups to report as of yet. And we are hoping to implement it before this weekend.
Okay, thank you.
I'll email all of council when it's in full force and effect.
Okay, awesome.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else under the general business? All right, seeing none, we have no closed session today, and we have no notices of motion that I'm aware of. So then, Madam Clerk, we're on to the bylaws, please.
Okay, being a bylaw to authorize execution of a contribution agreement between Her Majesty the Queen in right of the Province of Ontario and the Corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood, read a first, second, and third time in numbered bylaw 2021-46.
Motion by, we're going to have to get ready, tire out our hands here shortly. Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councillor Archer. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2020-33, being a bylaw to govern the proceedings of council and committees for the corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood. Mayor maybe wants motions on the floor if there's any discussion.
Oh,
For
sorry.
this one,
Thank you.
this is the procedural bylaw. So just-
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. So need a motion then on that, please. Councillor War, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing, Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
No, I just wondered if you had the wording for the amended procedure.
I believe it's in the bylaw itself.
Oh, was it? Okay, I didn't see it. So okay.
It's right. So yeah, it's right underneath where it says one call to order, two land
Oh, okay,
acknowledgement.
there it is. Okay,
That
thank you.
is, no, that's okay. Do we want to read it? Has everyone had a chance to review it? Are you okay with, Mayor, are you okay with that wording?
I'm okay with whatever council wants me to say. I'll do my best. and beg forgiveness later.
That's fine.
Any other questions or concerns, comments on that?
No.
Motion's on the floor. Okay, all in favor? And that's carried then. Thank you.
Being a bylaw to appoint members to various boards and committees in the Township of Asphodel-Norwood, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-48. This is based on the correspondence received in today's agenda package for the library board. We removed Lori Strawbridge.
Thank you. Okay, motioned by Councillor War, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And then that's carried. Thank you.
Being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2021-29, being a bylaw to adopt the estimates for the sums required during the year 2021 for municipal purposes and to establish rates of taxation to be levied during the year 2021 and to provide for penalties and interest. This is to amend Schedule B of the tax rate bylaw, as Okta has and MPAC have came back with an assessment of a property and have assigned this new tax class. So we need to adopt it into our tax rate bylaw.
Motioned by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor Archer. Any discussion or questions? Seeing no hands, all in favor? That's carried then. Thank you. Confirming bylaw then.
Being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood held on September 14th, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-50.
Motioned by Councillor Archer, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. Any questions, comments, or concerns about this today? Seeing no hands, all in favor then. And then that's carried. Thank you. You have our future meeting schedule on your agenda. And then I'm asking for a motion then for the adjournment, that we adjourn our meeting today, September 14th, 2021, and it's to be adjourned at 2:01 p.m. with our regular council meeting of September 24th, 2021, or at the call of the chair. Motioned by Councillor War, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. Any questions, concerns, comments? Councillor Walsh?
Actually, that meeting date is September 28th. I just noticed that.
Yeah. Wondering if you'd catch that. All right, as amended for the 28th. Motion, we did the motion and the seconder? Sorry. Yep, all in favor then, please. And that's carried. Thank you. All right, well, thank you very much, staff. Thank you very much, council. This was a very efficient meeting. There was a lot of material. And like our CEO clerk treasurer said, we're probably going to have a lot more coming the next meeting. Everyone have themselves a good week. Stay safe and